All right, test, test. Everybody, it's gonna fall down. Okay. Well, the wind. Usually I have the tables setting on the legs, and we just did the one table, so it's okay. It's all right. It's a beautiful day. Are we live? I am live. I hope so. Welcome to Waters Garden Center. My name is Michelle, and today's class is on lilacs, and it's such a small group. I decided to bring all sorts of other stuff up. So we'll talk about companion planting and all that stuff too. So lilacs are a spring bloomer. Most of them are starting to bud right now. The forsythias are kind of blooming right now in town. If anybody's been to the mall, it is amazing. I was there last weekend and it was just fabulous. So lilacs are shortly following that. So now's the time to enjoy them. If you are thinking about buying a lilac, you want to get it now. Once we are done with lilacs, I don't get any more. So now is the time. So one thing about lilacs is that they are an old-fashioned plant. They've been around forever. Our mothers and grandmothers loved them. So I think we all have those fond memories of having the lilacs in beautiful vases in our living rooms. The smell, the fragrance that they provide is simply amazing. So the lilacs nowadays have the same smells, same fragrance. They're just as beautiful. And there's a few of them that actually will rebloom for you. So that's kind of really cool. Instead of just having a spring thing, the spring blooming season, these guys will bloom usually midsummer for you again. So that's kind of really cool as well. Pruning lilacs, if you have them, you never want to prune them early spring. You want to wait until they bloom, and then you can go hacking away at them. Don't do it early or you're going to cut all your blooms off. So if they're not bloomed and you pruned, that's why. Make sure that you're pruning at the right time because they all bloom on that new wood that comes out after you prune them. So that's really, really important. So let's just kind of go through some of the lilacs that we have. I have more than what is here, but my table kind of got small really soon. So don't do that. Okay. So this is the rebloomer. This is the Bloomerang. This has been out for quite a while. This is a dark purple lilac. Smells amazing. A little bit smaller leaves than the typical lilac, and it's a different size. So this will only get about 4 to 6 foot. So it's not a huge lilac. It won't take over your yard like some of the old-fashioned ones will. Like I said, it's same fragrance, but this one hasn't opened up enough to actually smell yet. But really pretty, dark purple. There is a light pink one. I don't think I have the light pink one right now. But I do have another one that I'll show you as soon as I set this one down. That is a rebloomer as well. Really cool plant for a smaller area. This is the one for you. Yes, they will. I got to stay away from that side. So lilacs can stay in a container. You want to use a pretty good size one. So whatever size of bucket that you're planting, you want it twice as wide and twice as deep. So for something this way, you're looking at a 25. You want it at least 25 inches as far as your space goes, and probably 25 inches deep. Maybe a little bit shorter would be fine. It probably won't get to 6 foot for you, but they do really well in pots. Just make sure that they have really good drainage and don't overwater. Where? Grabbed all the big buckets too. This is the Scent and Sensibility. This is the pink one. And this is just like the Bloomerang. It is a rebloomer as well. So once they are done blooming, that's when you're going to shape it, cut it back, cut the old blooms off, and then you fertilize again. I know I always tell you just to do it the 3 times during the year, but once it's done blooming, fertilize it again. Get that blooming cycle going again, and that way you get that second bloom for you. This one's in that 4 to 6 foot too. This one here is one of my favorite lilacs. This one's called Sensation. The really neat thing about this one, it's starting to pop, but it's purple and it has white outlines around the flower itself. Gorgeous, gorgeous plant. This one's a big one, so this will get 8 to 10 feet when it finally gets to the right size, and they will kind of be vase shaped. They do spread out, so if you want to keep them contained, I usually take out those thicker, woodier stems that are inside and just let the thinner ones come up when I'm trimming and thinning out. This is a really pretty one, great fragrance. Stop and smell the lilacs later. Okay, Ken's going to start the newsletter sheet or the pamphlet sheet that'll come with this. It is specific to this class, so if you've done these classes before, you won't get last week's, but you'll just get this week's.
So while I've been gone,
while you've been gone,
Terry said, Michelle, I have my wine and I'm doing it.
So Terry, yeah.
Ted said, my parents had a 100-yard lilac hedge at the backyard. I still have fond memories of it.
Awesome. That's. I think we all have those, don't we? Terry actually works here, and she told me last week that she enjoys watching this with a glass of wine. It's like, I want my wine too, so you need to come and share. When you go to plant your lilacs, it's basically just like you're going to plant everything else in this area. You're going to go twice as wide, just as deep as they are in the pots themselves. 2/3 natural soil, 1/3 mulch. Backfill the hole once you get it planted. Put your fertilizer down, water it in really well, use your root and grow, and you should see success for your lilacs. Now, lilacs do like at least 6 hours of sunshine. If you do not put them where they're going to get at least 6 hours, You will not get your blossoms on a regular basis. They need that sun to bloom. It's kind of like roses in that case. If you put a rose in a shady area, you won't get blossoms. Your shrub will do fine, but you won't get blossoms regularly. So this one's called Lavender Lady. More like your old-fashioned lilac. Nice purple blossoms. Smells wonderful. This one is kind of a medium size. No, this is a big one. This one gets 12 feet. So basically like your old-fashioned lilacs. They kind of take over that space and will fill in for you that way. So it kind of depends on if they're being, it sounds weird, but if they're not getting fertilized regularly, and it depends on where they're at, if they're just opening up, like I said, the Bloomerang, there's no smell at all right now, but they have to be fully opened in order to do that. And probably early morning, you'll actually get that fragrance. After the wind has blown all day, you won't see that smell is off much because it does kind of blow away. It has to kind of percolate, kind of like perfume when you put it on. Oh, good luck with that. So lilacs are kind of in that category. I have had deer munch on them occasionally. They usually won't take it all the way down. They sometimes deer are really good at eating blossoms. So I would say that's what they would come for more than the shrub itself. So be careful with them. It's kind of like a rose. Don't put it out where the deer can get it. Speaking of roses, lilacs are great, but they only bloom for 2 or 3 weeks and we're kind of all done. So plant accordingly. So make sure that you are planting companion plants with them so you can enjoy your all season long flowers and blooms, fragrances. This is a Julie's Child's rose, and she smells really good too. This is a shrub rose that's going to, Floribunda, I think, that's going to get in that 4 to 5 foot. Again, full sun. Keep them away from the deer. They tend to strip mine and then eat the blossoms. As soon as they get open, they won't eat these. They wait till this comes up, and it's just like candy. It's like, ah! I brought the Hawthorn because they came in a truck today, and they're just gorgeous. This is the Ballerina Hawthorn. Hawthorns are not deer-proof, but they are an evergreen that blooms. A lot of people are looking for evergreens that bloom. It just blooms in the springtime, and then it's just green foliage the rest of the time. Ballerina gets in that 2 to 3 foot size range and about 5 feet wide. So real pretty shrub, gorgeous flowers, and does really well here. Like, yes, it does. It is an evergreen. So great shrub. These are great in pots as well, or next to a nice boulder or something like that. Works really well. Barberries are kind of like roses in the form that they do have thorns, but they're so pretty. You can't beat this color on as far as the foliage goes. There's red. There's dark purple. The Hellman's pillar is like the orange rocket. The orange rocket and the pillar are tall barberries. They'll get 5 to 6 feet tall and about 3 wide. So it gives you some upright height for your yard. If you have fence posts that you're just trying to highlight or trying to hide, these are really pretty to do. They are deciduous, so they will lose their leaves in the wintertime, but you can't beat this color. And they do bloom. They're all budded right now. It's kind of small flower, and then they do have little red berries, which hence their name. Leaves are just now starting to come out. I have a limoncello one, and it just started to pop. So I got little bitty leaves. This guy here is one of my favorite ground covers. This is one that if you have deer and rabbits, do not get this. This is on their buffet list. So unfortunately, this is something that you'll need to plant where they can't get it. This gets about 3 feet tall, and it'll spread out about 6 feet wide. Really pretty color, and it does stay this color, and it actually will go a little bit red in the wintertime. This is a winter creeper, and this one's called Moon Shadow. For those of you that have deer and rabbits, I did bring some stuff for you. Autumn sage is gorgeous. It's one of my favorite plants. It comes in a wide variety of colors. Sorry, I'm off my mat. This one's actually a coral. This one's called Heat Wave Blast Salmon. So really, really pretty. They also come... This is a new one called Mirage Purple. And then there's a Mirage Blue that actually has a little bit more blue to it. Autumn sage come in red, white, salmon, pinks, fuchsia. So these are deer proof, except for up on Yavapai Hills. Your deer like these. I just sold a whole bunch to a guy, and he emailed me and said, the deer just came through and ate every one of my autumn sage. It's like, my deer come through, and they might have been there fine. I don't know. They're just really hungry up there, I guess. Maybe you need to feed your deer more often. Or what I tell people too is the Repelsol's a great repellent. Julie back there is a user of it. She'll tell you all about it. So if you have deer and you have new plants and your deer or javelina pass through, spray them down. It smells awful. And if they get a whiff of that, if they do it for a little while, they might say, ooh, I don't want to come here. So maybe they'll go to the neighbor's house and eat whatever they have. But like I said, I've never had any problems with the autumn sage. Catmint is another one of my favorite plants. I didn't realize how, this is kind of like Russian sage in a way. It does tend to go all over the place. So plant it in an area that you don't mind it going wild. I have 5 or 6 spots, and a couple of them where I just go and hack away. I leave the things there for a couple of days, and I've got this like 10-foot patch of catmint that's just popping up. So it'll be a really pretty blue patch once it starts blooming, but it's kind of a pain. Catmint's great that because it does bloom all summer long. So basically what you have to do with this is it puts out its first growth and blooms, and then once it's done, the flowers will start drying up, give it a haircut, clean it up so it doesn't go back to seed, and then it'll come back. It blooms like 4 times in the season. So just keep deadheading it and it'll keep blooming. And the only time I've had something eat it was that before the drought or during the drought, that last September time frame, the rabbits came. I needed it cut back anyway, so they did take it to the ground, but they don't touch it any other time. They didn't, but it's like, can you come back when it's more convenient? Let's see. I did bring some stuff for those of you that have some shade. This is an abelia, the kaleidoscope abelia. This is a great plant. This is an evergreen that turns that red. I don't know why everything turns kind of red in the winter, but has little white bell-shaped flowers on it. So some morning sun would be fine for this. Kind of gets in that 3 to 4 foot. You can keep it cleaned up if you want to, but make sure that you just keep it watered. It's really easy, no fuss. Doesn't need a lot of trimming, so you shouldn't have to mess with it too much. It's just kind of a set and go. I don't remember if this is on the deer and rabbit list though. And Monrovia doesn't say anymore. They used to have a deer crossed off, but really great plant for the shade. This is another plant that I recommended because it is on our deer and rabbit list for Yavapai Hills, and I guess they like these two. But gorgeous color, and when you combine the two together, you just have this amazing color. It's heuchera, sorry, corabels. Abelia, kaleidoscope abelia. A. These I just kind of brought because they're really pretty. Calla Lilies, these are a shady plant, so you could put them on your patio or a shady area place, but they do bloom quite a bit throughout the summer. Just keep them moist and they'll be happy. Just enjoy them. I mean, these would be really pretty on a table while you're drinking your wine. I would imagine so. I would imagine so. These just look pretty. I would want to eat them. Along with the shady, this is a Columbine Songbird. This is a Songbird mix. They come in a variety of different colors, so they can, fit your palette. This is a shady plant as well, so make sure that it gets that early morning sun. These are another one that if you deadhead them, you will get a repeat bloom for them, and sometimes you'll get some in the fall as well. But they're perennial; they'll come back year after year. But they do like that shady spot. Look great in rock gardens and that type of thing. So really great plant. And it's one of our April companion plants. The other April companion plant is the Iberias candy tuft. This is a great little plant because it is evergreen, and so it'll stay green all through the winter. The white flowers bloom in the spring. It's fine. The white flowers bloom in the spring. Again, if you deadhead, there's little bitty flowers on the bottom of it, so it should be okay. Just cut them back, and they'll rebloom. Full sun, and this one's pretty good with deer and rabbits. My pack rats did eat some of this. After they did that, I trapped them and I was fine. But pack rats are kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, honeysuckle. Honeysuckle is a great plant. This is the gold flame. Gorgeous, gorgeous flowers and lots of fragrance, kind of like the roses. Smell amazing. This is a deciduous honeysuckle, so it will go back to sticks in the wintertime. The Hall's Japanese honeysuckle is evergreen. The flowers aren't quite as amazing as this one is, but it still has a really good fragrance. They're just little yellow and white ones, but I just love the flowers on this guy. If you're kind of doing a fence or an area where you have a little bit more space, I always recommend that you kind of mix them. So you get your the Halls in there and then do one of these, and then you get both colors going, and the Halls will kind of cover up the sticks once winter comes, so you won't have to look at all the trunks and stuff. Say that again. Okay. So her question was, is she missed her pruning for her honeysuckle? They're pretty forgiving. I mean, I wouldn't hack it all the way to the ground, but you could probably give it a nice haircut, and it'll be fine. Anytime you give a haircut, if you haven't fertilized, go ahead and fertilize. That just inspires the new growth to get going. Yeah. Full sun, correct. Yeah. Again, if you planted them in the shade, you probably wouldn't get as many flowers. The wisteria is a great vine if you have some shade. I've seen it grow in the sunshine too. You just need to water it a little bit more, so it's kind of versatile that way. Trumpet vine's another great one that kind of loves that full sun. Great big orange, red flowers. Yavapai College has an amazing display of those. When they start blooming, they're just incredible. So let's see. California poppies. They're just kind of one of my happy little plants. They're just pretty color. They are an annual, but they do go to seed. And I just wanted to show you a little bit. So this is actually a bud for the plant. And then this part is your seeds. So if you want them to reseed, don't deadhead them. Let me back up. So go ahead and deadhead them for a little bit, but once we start warming up, they kind of fizzle out. So at that point, let them go to seed, and that way they'll drop, and you'll have a new crop for next year. So if you want to continue that, that's how you do that. But you can't beat this pop of color for the springtime, and they bloom all the way through May. So a great little puppy. I'm sorry? Great advice. Okay. So she said to not plant these underneath your bird feeder, because when they go to seed, the birds come through and eat all your seed. So yeah, I guess so. Put them somewhere else and you should be good. A lot of the wildflower seeds, if you put a layer of topsoil or mulch, that'll keep the birds at bay, at least for a little bit until they start germinating. Usually the birds get my garden when the seeds start popping, so I have to cage things. And animals, what do we do with them? So as far as planting, I kind of touch base with it. You want to use the premium mulch in the soil that you're planting in. We all have nasty soils, so 2/3 natural soil, 1/3 premium mulch, and then, like I said, fertilize once you're done, water it in really well, use the root and grow, and your plants will be happy. If you're going to plant them in a pot, ooh, I missed you. We'll go back to planting in a minute. I just got to share this. This is another one of my favorite plants. This is a rainbow Ascot Euphorbia. So those of you that have deer and rabbits and all of that, this is the plant for you. Cool, soft leaf foliage that is evergreen. So this plant does not go dormant in the wintertime. These are the flowers and the blooms. So they do bloom in the springtime, and then they turn red in the fall and winter. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. Kind of get in that 2x2, 3x3. The flowers always make it a little bit taller. Once these are done, you'll just cut it back to like about here, and then new branches come up from it. Again, this is a rainbow Ascot Euphorbia. One of our favorite plants here. We can't sell, we sell out of them all the time. We can't keep them in stock. So back to planting. If you're going to plant them in a pot, the potting soil is what you're going to use. You don't necessarily need to worry about drainage as long as there's a hole in the bottom of the pot. Always make sure there's a hole in the bottom of the pot, or you're going to overwater and you're going to kill it. Good potting soil, make sure you have really good drainage. You're going to feed a little bit more often in a pot because you're watering more often in a pot than you are in the ground. So kind of be aware of that, especially on your blooming things. Things that you really want to last a long time for your blooms, perennials, your vegetables, hanging baskets, that type of thing. The flower power is a great fertilizer. You mix it up in a watering can and you just pour it in as you're watering. You use it every 2 weeks, and that just keeps things blooming and blooming. If you're going to have a party, Ken likes to say, plan it ahead, and 2 weeks before you're going to have it, make sure you put this on, and everything will look spectacular when that time comes for your plants to bloom. Works great on vegetables, like I said, tomatoes and peppers. Just kind of keeps that blooming cycle going. So great product. Mix it up in a watering can and it's great. You can use it on roses as well. I usually use both the 744 and this on my roses if I need to just push that bloom. Kind of housekeeping. Today we have been inundated by aphids. I had people bring iris stems, so check your irises when you go home. 3 people had brought them in today, and they were just covered with them. So use the Sayonara or the Triple Action. They're both of our products. The Triple Action has the neem oil in it, so just be kind of careful with our higher temperatures. Don't use it in the heat of the day because it tends to burn. I like to spray early in the morning so the wind doesn't get it and we don't get that burning out. Systemic? Mm-hmm. You can. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you have aphids on them, though, I would spray anyway, just because it takes a little bit of time for the systemic to work. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. I know they're very soft bodied, but if you touch them, they basically die just because they're so soft. I've heard hosing them off works too well too, but if you miss one, they'll be back. So that same with spraying it if you miss one. So kind of keep an eye on it. If you have them, they don't just go away after one spray. Okay, I think I talked about everything. Oop. Yep. Got everything. Anybody got questions? Questions? It kind of depends on, her question was how to deadhead, and it just kind of depends on what you're actually deadheading. So for instance, if I was deadheading this, I would actually take it back to here. With these, you really don't have to be really careful. I just usually use my hedge clipper because the mound usually gets about this big, and I just kind of give it a haircut. For more sensitive things like the rose, old-fashioned way is to take it back to the fifth, the first leaf of the fifth that has 5 leaves. So you would just prune it here, and that way your next rose will come out of that spot, or your next piece of growth. And that's kind of any time you prune, you want to take it to that node and kind of look at that node. If your node is going this way, that's the way your next branch is going. If it's going this way, which is usually not the way we want it to go because it's going inside the plant, you always want to take that outside edge, whichever way you're pruning. Does that make sense? Ouch. For autumn sage, if you do some deadheading with these as well, you don't have to. They're pretty sustainable if you just let them go. But sometimes after they bloom, they'll leave a little stick, basically, that's popped up. If you just kind of go through and trim those off, you can even take some of this growth off. It'll just bush up your plant and give you that fuller look through the summer. So with these, that's how I would deadhead. Was there anything specific that you were looking as far as deadheading? Like a carnation, I go all the way to the tip, all the way in. Petunias, I just pull the petunia off, and you're good to go. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I'd like to transplant some of them.
Okay.
So they just come out everywhere.
Right.
Do I just choose one? How can I do that?
So her question is about transplanting, and she has an existing one that's kind of spread out, and she has young shoots. What I would do, I wouldn't do it now. I would wait until next spring, February, March, and dig it up at that point. One, you won't have transplant shock when you do that. They'll be dormant, and you can just do it that way. That's how I would do it. Mm-hmm. You bet. Anything else? All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go have a glass of wine on me.
If we should get